Thank you for listening to the Gospel Road, and we are looking at 1 Peter chapter 3. It says, "Likewise, wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that even if some do not obey the word, that they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives. When they see your respectful and pure conduct, do not let your adorning be external, the braiding of hair and the putting on of gold jewelry, or the clothing you wear. But let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart, with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which in God's sight is very precious. For this is how the holy women who hoped in God used to adorn themselves, by submitting to their own husbands, as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. And you are her children, if you do good and do not fear anything that is frightening. Likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered." I'm going to stop there for 1 second, because you're dealing with two different pieces in 1 Peter 3. And I want to talk about this. It was interesting that I read this. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine earlier, and it's interesting how people read this and can distort it, and how they use it for their benefit or their gain, or to believe the way that they need to believe. For years, I've always heard about, the wives submitting to their husbands, and there was a separation with that. Because the man, the king of the house, which, okay, we'll give you that, but it's still a partnership. See, the first part, I think a lot of us know that so well, because we've heard it so many times, men, the man's world. But we don't look at verse number 7, or if we do, we see two words out of it. I'll give you 5 words. Women is the weaker vessel. Well, the first part of that says showing honor to the women. Now, there's a way you need to look at that. What does the weaker vessel mean? See, again, we're in a partnership when you're in a marriage. You both have your responsibilities. You both have things that you need to do. And growing up, when you're dealing with an older generation who is very much about the man running everything and the man ruling everything, one thing that I have heard time and time again, that the husband died first, and the wife didn't know what to do. Couldn't balance a checkbook. Couldn't do some very minor things around the house. Luckily, there were kids that were involved. Some there were not. Now, that can be an issue, because we always talk about planning and thinking towards the future. Well, these guys are taking care and doing everything now. Well, if it's like growing up as a child and your parents not showing you anything, not showing you how to change a tire, not showing you how to check your oil, not showing you how to put gas in your car. So now you're growing up to not know what you need to know. Don't teach you how to tie your shoes. Don't teach you how to get dressed. Might be going to a little bit of an extreme, but sometimes I have to do that just because it's how it gets your attention. But think about it. So, a lot of these women, they were married when they were 17, 18 years old, 16, when you're talking, 80 years ago, 90 years ago. And even from then until now, I have a friend that they're having to help their mom because she wasn't able to do anything. So now she's got to learn how to all these things. because she wasn't allowed to do that. Well, how is that showing them honor? Because if you're honoring them, again, you do this together. I mean, that's how I always did it when it came to paying the bills and doing taxes and the different things like that needed to be done when it came to finances. You do it as a team. You do it as a partnership. You sit down together, you write the checks out, here's what needs to get paid, let's do this. So you're making sure that you know where everything is in case something should happen. I know even for me, dealing with my parents right now as they're getting older, I need to know where things are. Life insurance policies, where all their accounts are. These are just things in life we need to know to prepare to what's going to happen in the future. So it's showing them honor to find out that information. Because again, we're going to talk about the women, the weaker vessel. Now let's talk about people as they get older, they become elderly. And it doesn't matter if you're male or female, you both become weaker vessels. I mean, I remember watching my grandfather as he was getting older before he died. Before he ended up in the nursing home. Strong will, but there was some weakness. So before you start stomping around and I am man and beating on your chest, think things through a little bit. It's just like when you're in business and you're working with a partner, or maybe you don't have a partner, you are the person in charge. What happens if something happens to you? Who takes over? Who's second in charge? We're not even saying that that you die, but you're in an accident. You're not able to be at work for 6 months to a year. How is that company going to continue to move forward, doing what needs to be done, if you're micromanaging and holding everything so close to the chest because you don't trust any of your employees? Well, you can't do that. You can't do that. And sometimes I think that's where it came down, where I've watched some of the marriages like that. Well, I just do everything. Well, why didn't you let your wife? Well, I don't trust them. Or they use it to the best of their ability of, they're lazy all the time, but then when it comes to a certain thing, now they're going to stand up and be a man. But yet, everybody else needs to do anything. I don't know, growing up, one of the things I heard all the time is how children are to be seen and not heard. We have kids only so they can do all the chores around the house, so I can sit on my butt. Okay, it might be a little sore about that. But these are just things that you have to use your common sense and think things through to understand. There's something I've talked to some friends and I've said, and some people look at me kind of funny when I talk about the Bible and I'm talking about all the different stories and the allegories. A lot of these, they're moral stories to help you, to guide you, to understand. A lot of it isn't a literal piece. You have to read it to see what it is saying, what it is standing for, what the lesson is it's trying to teach you. So that's part 1 of 1 Peter 3. Now let's go to the rest of it. It says, finally, all of you have unity of mind, sympathy, brotherly love, a tender heart, and a humble mind. Do not repay evil for evil or reveling for reveling, but on the contrary, bless, for to this you were called, that you may obtain a blessing. For whoever desires to love life and see good days, let him keep his tongue from evil, and his lips from speaking deceit. Let him turn away from evil and do good. Let him seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. Now, who is there to harm you if you are zealous for what is good? But even if you should suffer for righteousness' sake, you will be blessed. Have no fear of them, nor be troubled. But in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect, having a good conscience, so that when you are slandered, those who revile your good behavior in Christ may be put to shame. For it is better to suffer for doing good, if that should be God's will, than for doing evil. For Christ also suffered, once for sins, the righteousness for the unrighteous, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the Spirit, in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison, because they formerly did not obey, when God's patience waited in the days of Noah while the ark was being prepared, in which a few, that's 8 persons, were safely brought through water. Baptism, which corresponds to this, now saves you, not as a removal of dirt from the body, but as an appeal to God for a good conscience through the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who has gone into heaven and is at the right hand of God, with angels, authorities, and powers having been subjected to him. So now, it's the second part of 1 Peter 3, is what we're looking at here. So the first part, we're talking about husbands and wives. And you can even put that into businesses. And honoring and taking care of one another. Working together. Okay? Now, the second part here, it's talking about being together. Uniting. Did I say that right? I'm not sure. Sympathy, brotherly love, tender-hearted, a humble mind. How many times have I talked to people and somebody does something bad against them and they want to get right back at them? They want to give evil for evil. Besides torquing the other person back off again, what's it solve? We need to be a blessing to one another. If they do evil to you, you still need to love them back. And you need to bless them. Pray for them. Honor them. Now, just because they did something evil to you doesn't mean you got to hang out with them the rest of your life. And in business, how many times has that happened that somebody's done something wrong to you? You're still going to have to deal with them. But you're not best friends. You don't hang out every day. So many things have happened to me in life. I remember one time where there was someone that I worked with, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, but it is I don't know if they were threatened by me, they just didn't like me. I really don't know what the answer was. I didn't dig to find out, but I know they were trying to get me fired from my job. So they were saying things and this and that, and I was called into the boss's office a few times, had to have these meetings because I supposedly said something about somebody else, and it was frustrating. I got through it. Did I advance in my career? No. Did I do anything against them? No. Should I have? Could I have? No. I mean, I could have, but no. Because that's not the way I am. I mean, it's interesting because I remember one time talking with a boss when I came back to work, and he was having the big conversation with me about how he, doesn't like people that spread rumors and are part of this. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, why are you telling this? I don't care. Because I don't do that. And then a couple years later, we were talking about a different position, and we were just sitting there in the office and having a conversation, and they looked at me and they said, so you kind of know, you're in the know of what's going on around here. And I just kind of looked at them and I said, I don't know what you mean. Well, they're thinking in their mind that I'm just this person seeking dirt and information and trying to stab people in the back, and no. Because if I was, I'd probably be making $1 million a year right now, because I would be ruthless and feel really bad about myself. Because I can't do that. In fact, about a year later, I had a conversation with someone else, another supervisor, and they said the same thing about me, and I go, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I even remember having a conversation with somebody one time that they called me in and they go, well, I want to talk to you about something. Do you have an issue with so-and-so or an issue with this? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it almost felt like they were digging for information and I couldn't give them the information that they wanted. Now, when it was done, was it even? Did they believe me? I don't know. You know, for me, I just want to go in, I want to get my work done, I want to be able to do my work. But, you know, I'm also going to talk to coworkers because we do need to interact with each other every day. I mean, if we completely ignore one another, you know, what kind of a place is it to work at that point? Now, am I ever part of the in crowd or any clique? Yeah, no, I never fall into that either. I'm not the one that's, you know, when they go out for a beer after work that they say, hey, you want to come? That's not me. And it is what it is. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. But see, this is where we need to be careful. And I love this where it says, seek peace and pursue it. I always talk about how we need to share love and compassion with one another. I would help somebody to the best of my ability. And it doesn't matter if we're best friends or I just met you today. I'll do my best. My best might not look the best to you, but it's my best. Be zealous for what is good. Be zealous for doing the right thing. How many times have you got in trouble for doing the right thing? And this is always the part that I watch, and growing up in church, and that when someone, and I am as guilty as this as the next person because I was the exact same way. Because when someone would talk against your faith and your beliefs, and you would just get on the defensive, which is wrong. Because as it says here, be prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. Even if they don't ask you for a reason, be prepared to have a defense. But you need to do it with gentleness and respect. You don't do it pointing your finger in their face. You don't do it yelling. You do it with a conversation. And if you cannot discuss it, then you need to turn and walk away. Because that's not how we're supposed to do that. When you do the right thing, you have a good conscience. If you're doing the right thing, that's what people see. You hope they see you. Sometimes they're going to judge you and put you in a box that might not be your box. But for whatever reason, that's what they see. And as they say, perception's reality. If that's how they perceive you, which I sit back and I try and wonder, what did I do? Except for certain people that I talk to, I don't know what I did to give them the perception. I don't know what I do to give people the perception that I have a problem with anyone. A lot of times I can have quirky looks on my face. I can have maybe not always looking the happiest. I mean, we all get frustrated. Finances, life. Wow. Trust me, it's a daily fight for me. A daily fight for me. A friend of mine over the weekend said, you know, you might not think you're a happy person, but you know, you really are a happy person. They go, I see it. But if you're doing things with a good conscience, if someone were to slander you, people are going to hear that and go, no, that's not so-and-so. That's not how he or she acts. That is not her at all. There's things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. There's things that we have to go through. There's people that we have to deal with, which comes to tolerance. And I know we've talked about that before. And that just means that you have to be able to tolerate someone no matter if you agree with them or not. You need to get along. Again, you're not hanging out with them. You're not sharing an ice cream cone. You're doing what you need to do, and then you keep going forward. As always, 1 Peter chapter 3, you need to read that. You need to see what the Holy Spirit speaks to you and reveals to you by reading that chapter. All I do is see what I see and I share it. But just because that's what I see does not always mean that's what everyone else is going to see. Because we're all at different stages in our lives. We're at different places. And you might see something in here that is going to help you because of something that you're going through right now. So read it. It's so much easier anymore. You don't even have to have your Bible with you. You can go on the internet and find the chapter. You can download an app for your phone, for your tablet. It's all there at the touch of your fingers. 1 Peter chapter 3. Thank you for listening to The Gospel Road. Have a great day. God bless.